You know the conversation where a woman almost opens up to you and then doesn't? You said the kind thing back and it closed anyway. So what did you actually do wrong? Nothing. Except the one move everybody taught you. A Harvard team recorded close to 2,000 4-minute conversations and coded every question asked. One type moved everything, another actively made things worse, and the one that works is the one almost nobody uses. People don't open up to whoever they trust. They open up to whoever proves they were listening. I moved here last year. That's what Marta said at a work lunch. I said, "Oh nice, I've got a cousin near there. Sounds warm, doesn't it?" That was my whole move for years, and I thought it was warmth too. 2 years of lunches later, I couldn't have told you one thing about her life. Most people think opening up runs on trust. Build enough and the real conversations show up. How long have you been waiting for that? Trust is what you get afterwards, not what you spend. What anybody needs first is smaller and faster, and you hand it over in 4 seconds. Here's the whole thing in one picture. A loose thread hangs off her sleeve. Pull the thread or walk past it. She says, "I moved here last year." You say, "Who did you know when you landed?" She says, "Work's been mad." You say, "Mad how? What's eating the week?" Pull it and the thread comes out long, in your hand. Walk past and the thread stays in the sleeve, exactly where it sat. And one pull only buys an answer. What actually makes people open up, not answer, open up, is the question you ask second, and which part of the answer you aim it at. Get that one right, and she stops answering you and starts telling you the things she doesn't tell the room. I'll hand you the exact shape of that question and the part of her answer you pointed at. Almost everyone walks past, and the other person does the only thing left answers at exactly the depth you asked for. You both go home thinking there was nothing there and call it no chemistry. And everybody gets it wrong in the same direction. They try to be more interesting, better stories, better opinions. The thing that actually opens people costs no material at all. There's also one response that shuts a woman down faster than saying nothing, and you'll use it today, probably before dinner, taught to you as kindness. It comes last, along with the sentence that replaces it. So why would pulling a thread beat being interesting? Karen Huang and colleagues at Harvard did it twice. 368 typed conversations between strangers, then speed dates with 110 people. They sorted the questions into types. Some opened a new topic, some were mirrors, you ask me, I ask you the same, and some were follow-ups. A question that could only exist because you heard the last answer. In the typed conversations, follow-up askers were rated more responsive and liked more. Topic switchers were rated less responsive. Being interesting actually cost them. Then the speed dates, where the measure was brutally simple. Would you see this person again? 8% more follow-ups, but 1 extra yes over an evening of 20. The honest edge. Those halves aren't the same evidence. Liking came from the typed conversations. The speed dates measured a tick box. So the study proves the thread gets you a yes, not her childhood. That part is yours to earn, and the last thing I hand you is how. Here's what those ratings measured. Not charm. Responsiveness, the sense that what I just said landed. They checked whether that feeling was the reason those questions worked, and it was. So the question was never being clever. It was being proof. And proof has one shape. A question you could not have asked a minute earlier. So here's the move I owed you, and it's the one that actually opens people. Call it the thread, and you pull it by asking for the inside of the last thing you heard. Marta says, she moved here last year. The thread isn't the city, it's the first month. You didn't invent it, you heard it. Watch it side by side. She says, I moved here last year. Version 1. Oh nice, I've got a cousin near there. The topic walked over to you and the next answer will be shorter. Version 2. What was the first month like? Did you know anybody? She says, honestly, I ate dinner alone for about 6 weeks. Same woman, same lunch. 10 words of difference. And notice what just happened. Nobody asked how she felt. That got added anyway. That's what you're looking for. Not a longer answer. A volunteered one. An extra clause nobody asked for, which is what opening up actually is. So here's the second stage, and it's where almost everybody stops. Look again at what you were just handed. Honestly, I ate dinner alone for about 6 weeks. Nobody asked how it felt. Nobody asked for 6 weeks. Both were added. That extra part is the whole game. Here's why. People attach a volunteered clause when some part of them wants to be asked about it. And they keep it small on purpose so it can be walked back if nobody bites. An offer with a retreat built in. So stage 2 aims at the volunteered part, never at the fact. Not where did you move from, that's the fact. You already had it, and asking it says the offer went unnoticed. Aim at the 6 weeks instead. She says, I ate dinner alone for about 6 weeks. You say, what changed at week 7? Take a second answer, so you copy the shape and not the sentence. She says, work's been mad. I've basically stopped cooking. The fact is work. The volunteered part of that answer is the cooking, which nobody asked about. You say, how long since you actually cooked? Not, what's going on at work? Same skeleton both times. Name the part of the answer that got added and ask what it's been like or what changed. Nothing clever in it. Nothing about you. And it proves something the first question can't. Stage 1 proves you were listening. Stage 2 proves you heard which part got risked and that can't be faked or prepared, because the question doesn't exist unless you heard both answers. 1 reply proves politeness. 2 proved the first one landed. And if nothing is volunteered at all, no extra clause, just fine, busy, there's nothing to aim at yet, then you go first. 1 plain sentence about you and stop talking. So here's the third move, and it decides whether there's a fourth conversation. What do you do with the answer? Shelley Gable and Harry Rice came at this from the opposite end. Good news, not bad. Marta tells you something that went well. 4 ways to take it. Enthusiastic engagement, polite interest, running it down, changing the subject. What separates them isn't how correct your words are, it's how enthusiastic your answer feels to her. Then Rice and colleagues put numbers on it. Event ratings went up almost a full point after an engaged listener. After a merely pleasant one, 1/3 of a point. 1/3 feels like enough. That's the trap. And the asymmetry nobody expects. A good thing told to a warm listener kept feeling good for weeks. A bad one, retold, barely moved. Honest edge. They measured how the event felt afterwards, not whether the answer kept coming. That half was Huang's. So here it is, the one I promised at the start. The response that shuts a woman down faster than saying nothing isn't cruelty. It's, God, that's rough, I'm sorry. Sympathy with a full stop on the end. You said it this week. It sounds kind. It's also a receipt. It marks the answer received and closed. She says, 6 weeks of eating alone, you say sorry, the topic is finished. She goes back to the sandwich. You never hear week 7. Nothing to add. I'll flag it honestly, no study. I quoted, measured the shutting. What they measured is that the engaged answer beats the polite one 3-1. Engagement is a different shape, and it costs you 1 sentence. 6 weeks of eating alone, what finally broke it? You're not comforting the answer, you're asking it to continue the whole distance between hearing a fact and watching somebody actually open up. 2 sets of studies, 3 stages, 1 motion. Ask inside her last sentence. Then ask inside the part she volunteered. Then answer with more, not with sorry. The part nobody uses is what happens next. It loops. Whatever she says next has its own volunteered part in it, the bit you never asked for. So you run stage 2 again. Aim at that bit, not at the topic. Run it once and you had a good conversation. Run it twice and nothing she hands you gets dropped, which is the responsiveness Huang's study measured, arriving twice instead of once. It has a visible top. You'll know when you reach it. You get told something with, I haven't said this to anybody here attached. Or the question comes back at you, a real one. Not a longer conversation, a changed one. And notice what none of that required. Not one interesting thing about you. The cousin move felt generous every time. All it ever was is a trade, where I took her turn. 2 years of lunches, 1 thread, and I'd walked past it maybe 80 times. Huang can't tell you what those 80 felt like to Marta 4-minute strangers. Don't measure a colleague. What it does show is that a walk past reads as a walk past. 80 chances. Anyone would have done it. Count yours. So here's your task this week. 2 laps of the same 3 moves, not 1 sentence about you. Who? Not your closest friend, whose threads you already pull. 1 ring out the woman you know only by her desk. When? Tomorrow, ask her anything at all. Then listen for the bit thrown in on top, A fact your question could not have produced. She says, fine, busy week, my sister's staying with me. You asked how she was. Nobody asked who's in her flat. The sister is your Fred. 1. Ask inside her last sentence, in your next breath. Not a new topic. What was that like? Is the whole shape of it? 2. Listen for the part she added that you never asked for, and aim the next question at that. She says, work's been mad, I've basically stopped cooking. Ask, so what do you do there? And you get a job title. Ask, how long since you cooked? And you get the reason she said it. 3. Whatever comes back, even 3 words. Answer with more, not sorry. One question that assumes there's a rest of the story. And then what happened? That's the one that opens people. Then run all 3 again on whatever comes back. That second lap is where questions become trust. And you already know which lap you'll skip. And if a thread goes nowhere, that's a Tuesday, not a verdict. There's another one in the next sentence she says. Think of the last woman at work you decided you had nothing in common with. It was never that. She handed you a thread, you had a cousin near there, and you called that a conversation. Nobody ever opened up to the most interesting person in the room. Pull one thread tomorrow, then pull it again. So tell me in the comments, what's the last thing somebody left hanging in front of you, and what are you going to ask them about it tomorrow?